If you knew that your relatively pleasant existence, your rewarding employment, and your personal sense of comfort and safety were all due primarily to societal structures that give unfair advantage to you because of the color of your skin, would you try to change that system? I'm PJTV's Scott Ott, joined now by Stephen Green and Bill Whittle. Well, men, the folks behind the Unfair campaign, centered at the University of Minnesota Duluth and backed by the YWCA, NAACP, and several mainline Protestant church groups, well, they want to spark community conversations about the unfairness of white privilege so that we can see it, know it, and stop it.
What do you mean we're lucky to be white?
It's not luck, it's privilege.
We're privileged that people see us, not a color.
Privilege that we don't get stared at when we walk into the room.
Privilege that we don't get followed by security when we go shopping.
Or pulled over when we're in the wrong neighborhood.
We're privileged because society was set up for us, and our silence keeps it in place.
We're privileged, and that's unfair.
Now, Stephen Green, a foundational premise for the Unfair campaign is that white folks like you don't realize how blessed you are by the society that your people have established. In other words, you benefit from unearned advantages, of which you're ignorant. Surely a conservative like Stephen Green wants to know about your unmerited blessings and put a stop to them, don't you?
Well, you know what? Actually, I do get stared at when I walk into a room because I know how to wear this suit.
Yeah.
No, more seriously, I don't know what it's like to be black or Latin or Asian or anything else. But I can tell you, as an American, I'm going to see if I can remember all these. As an American of half Jewish, Russian, German, Austrian, French, English, Welsh, Irish, Scot descent, that heredity is mostly crap. It means nothing. If heredity, if race was the end-all, be-all, the left wants you to believe, I would have to pour myself a Guinness, put on a kilt, boil some meat, write a depressing novel, then invade myself, stick my head in the oven before surrendering to everybody. But this is America. You can choose to be anything you want to be. Choose wisely.
Well, Bill, the Unfair campaign enjoys support at the highest levels, including from Lendley Black, the chancellor of the University of Minnesota Duluth, who is white, and from Lisa Irwin, the vice chancellor for student life, who is white. Isn't it encouraging that university administrators realize that they have these high-paying jobs because of their pale complexions?
Newsflash, university staff consists of out-of-touch weenies. Film at 11. This is an absolute shocker, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on to your chairs. This one's going to be a wild ride, Nelly. You know, this would be a very effective ad campaign. I think it is an extremely effective ad campaign if it's 1963. I mean, for the love of God, seriously, does anybody look at this and think this is going to do a lot of good? All this does is further this sense of unearned victimhood from people who have just had enough of it, and whatever was left in that white guilt account that got Barack Obama elected has been utterly not only drained, but that account is overdrawn. I'm telling you, it's over. It's over. This victimization of minorities is over. People have had enough. We elected a black president. We were told that if we elected a black president, that would be the end of racism in America, and he has been the most divisive race-baiting candidate in the history of this country. Worst race-baiting president in the history of this country. So it's done. You got your guy. Account's empty.
Here's a headline I'd like to see. Chancellor of University of Minnesota Duluth steps down, acknowledges cheating to get the job because he was white, which of course gave him a leg up. Stephen, I don't think any of us would deny that vestiges of racism persist in our society, but perhaps it's just human nature to cleave to your kind and hold suspicion toward differences. Can anything really be done to ensure greater equality of opportunity and societal harmony regardless of race?
Embrace capitalism, individualism. Look, collectivism by design, it puts people into groups. That's what the word means. But free market capitalism allows people, hell, it practically requires people to cooperate to get anything done, or you're not going to make any money. And since you can't take money, you don't have that power of the state, you've got to make it. And that means putting your stupid prejudices aside and getting down to business. But when you bunch us all together by the power of the state, then it's winner take all for the spoils. So of course people will group together in the most easy, obvious, stupid ways. So you know what, if you want to get people to hate each other for no good reason, you might be a progressive.
Well, Bill, can groups of white people who think that their sweet lives have come at the expense of others actually be the agents of change? And what tangible steps can a privileged white person take to shift the balance of power away from himself, removing his unfair advantage?
Not going to do it, Scotty. I'm not going to even go into that devil's advocate question of yours. Let me tell you who this really hurts. Okay, who it really hurts is it hurts the black population of Duluth, Minnesota. And I'll tell you why it hurts them. It tells them yet again, for the next generation, it's been 7 generations now since slavery, tells them yet again that they're victims, that they've been oppressed, that they're being kept down when there is no evidence to that whatsoever. In fact, much evidence to the contrary. That there have been set-aside programs that white people bend over backwards to find people who are hardworking people, colored people, black people, white people, brown people, whatever. They just want to hire good individuals. And this is another generation's worth of poison pumped into their bloodstream, telling them that they're victims of something that doesn't exist. And so therefore, all they have to do is complain about it, and maybe they'll get something from the big goodie bag up in the sky. It's been utterly destructive. It's utterly destroyed the black population. If you look at where the black population in this country was prior to the Civil Rights Act, they had a higher marriage rate than the white population did. And I think some of their high school graduation rates were higher. This entire victimization thing's been an utter disaster for black people. And it's the black people of Duluth that should be pulling those billboards down in anger, and not the white people.
Well, I'd like to give these folks in the Unfair campaign credit for good intentions, but I can't evaluate their motivations, only their behavior and whether it's consistent with their stated goals. The Unfair campaign is a racist endeavor, all the more wicked because it masquerades as kindness. It says, don't judge a man by the content of his character, but by the color of his skin. It denigrates the people it pretends to help because it sends the message that any difficulties or failures in their lives have nothing to do with them as persons, but are caused by massive societal tides whose force they are helpless to resist. In other words, you're doomed, and it's someone else's fault. The Unfair campaign also attempts to foster irreconcilable guilt for the sin of inherited pigmentation. They say to a black person, you're not responsible for you, and they say to a white person, you're responsible for everybody. And then they bow the knee and say, Father, I thank thee that I am not like the other white people. For Stephen Green, Bill Whittle, and the entire Trifecta crew at pjtv.com, I'm Scott Ott.